All right, let's jump right in. We are going way, way back to 1926 to unpack an absolute classic, The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clausen. Now, this is a book that's taught millions about money, not with, complex charts and graphs, but through simple, really powerful stories set in the ancient world. So in this explainer, we're going to break down its timeless secrets to wealth. So the book kicks off with this really powerful image. It's a great reminder that no matter where you are right now, you've got ambitions, you have desires for your future. And the book's whole point is that to bring those dreams to life, you've first got to get successful with money. And look, this isn't about greed, it's about building a solid foundation for the life you actually want to live. Okay, so let's take a little trip back to ancient Babylon. I want you to picture the wealthiest city in the world at the time. You've got this mix of just dazzling grandeur right next to soul-crushing poverty, all crowded together. And its citizens, they got the value of money. But for so many of them, there was this big mystery. If you work your tail off every single day, why is your purse still empty at the end of the week? Sound familiar? And this is where we meet our guides, Bansir and Kobe. Now, these guys are fantastic at what they do. They are true masters of their craft. But financially, they're totally stuck. They earn money, sure, but it just seems to vanish, slipping right through their fingers. And one day they realize they've been working for years with basically nothing to show for it. That's what pushes them to go find someone who's actually cracked the code.
And that someone is Arkad. He's a legend across the land, and not just because he's the richest man in Babylon, but because he started with absolutely nothing. He was just a poor scribe with this burning desire for wealth, and he figured out the fundamental laws of money that really anyone, in any time, can use. And this is Arkad's foundational secret. It sounds so simple, right? But this quote represents a huge mental shift. I mean, think about it. You pay the baker, you pay the sandal maker, you pay everybody else. But you ever pay yourself? The very first step to building wealth is this psychological click, realizing that you have the first claim on your own earnings. You go from being just a spender to being an owner.
So what's the magic number? It's right here. Arkad's first and most important rule is to pay yourself first by saving at least 1/10, 10% of everything you earn. Before you pay your bills, before you buy anything, you set that 10% aside for yourself. And he argues that this one single discipline, well, that's the start of every great fortune. So, building on that one core idea, Arkad then lays out a whole system for financial health. He calls it the 7 cures for a lean purse. Honestly, you can just think of it as a timeless, step-by-step guide to fixing an empty wallet and starting to build a future you're excited about. And here they are, the 7 cures. They really create a complete roadmap. It all starts with that first cure, start thy purse to fattening, which is that 10% rule we just talked about. But then it goes further, covering budgeting, investing, protecting your money from loss, planning for the future, and even increasing your own skills to earn more. It's the whole shebang. Let's dig into a couple of these. Let's talk about the second cure, control your spending. This is just so brilliant because it points out something we all do. The book warns us that what we call our necessary expenses will almost always grow to match whatever our income is, unless we actively fight back. The whole key is learning the difference between what you truly need and what you just want. Now for the fourth cure, which is all about guarding your treasure. The book is super clear on this. Don't take financial advice from a bricklayer about jewels. It sounds obvious, right? But we do it all the time. You have to seek out advice from people who are actual experts in the field you're investing in. Advice is everywhere, but you should only take the advice that's actually worth having. Okay, so once you've learned how to save and you've got a handle on your spending, what's next? Well, you need to understand the rules for making your money work for you. And this is what the book calls the 5 laws of gold, which are really just timeless rules for smart, careful investing. And you can see how these laws really build on each other. The first 3 are all about how you build wealth, consistent saving, and wise, cautious investing with people who know what they're doing. But those last 2, wow, those are the big warnings. They caution us against the 2 biggest wealth killers out there. 1, investing in things you don't understand, and 2, falling for those tempting get-rich-quick schemes. Okay, so these are great stories from thousands of years ago. But how in the world do these simple little parables apply to our crazy, complex world of online banking, stock markets, and crypto? Why does this ancient wisdom still matter, almost 100 years after it was written? And that's a fair question, right? The world has changed so much. This book doesn't say a word about inflation or asset allocation or Bitcoin. So, is it just some interesting historical thing to read? Or is there something much deeper here that has really stood the test of time?
While the book's origin story actually gives us a big clue, it didn't start out as some grand novel. It was actually a series of simple, practical pamphlets that banks handed out in the 1920s to teach their customers the basics. So the lessons had to be super clear, memorable, and most importantly, effective. And because they're all about human psychology, our desires, our fears, our need for discipline, they're just as relevant today as they were back then.
And that right there is the real takeaway. While the tools we use for finance have changed completely, the fundamental principles haven't budged an inch. Consistently saving, living below your means, investing wisely, and always learning, that's the bedrock of financial success, period. The book's power is that it just strips away all the modern noise and reminds us of these core, simple truths. So we're going to end on this final, powerful message from the book. The laws of money are kind of like the laws of gravity. They're unchanging and they're there for everyone. The knowledge is simple, but you know what the hardest part is? It's always taking that first step. The biggest enemy to your financial future isn't a lack of opportunity. It's that little voice that tells you to start tomorrow.